This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 183. This is the show that gets you ready for AEW's Double or Nothing. On today's show, we're going to be discussing what WWE is planning for a 25-city tour and when that's running from, as well as what Finn Balor's plans are and who might be hosting SummerSlam. Of course, we're going to give you our predictions for the big pay-per-view this Sunday in Double or Nothing with AEW. And, of course, we're going to take a look at what's going on in the wrestling world. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one. He's the only. He's the Adnan Virk, if you will, of podcasting. He's the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Look, I lasted longer than 7 weeks. My God, what an epic disaster. It was one of those things where, as a fan, you're like, is it wrong that I want this guy gone within 3 weeks? Do I give it a chance? Hell, the company did not even give it a chance. What an embarrassment. We're going to start there. How did the WWE, a global conglomerate, billion-dollar deals, not know that a rookie needed some time to maybe do some shows and maybe also work his way up through NXT, do some things? You just threw him right there on Monday Night Raw, and we're like, oh no. I think the final straw came when he ruined a lot of the matches that were really pretty good on this past Monday Night Raw. And then, boom, the next day, just after an avalanche of negativity, nasty tweets, nobody liking it, everybody turning it off, hate listening to Adnan Virk to see what the hell he was going to say. They broomed him, and they went with the whole Adnan Virk, oh, the schedule grind just got too much with all my jobs. Yeah, let's just gloss over the fact that you were probably the worst WWE announcer that probably ever got behind the microphone.
And that's where I wanted to go with this. I don't know if there's ever been a guy who's been that bad. And you could tell he really wanted this to work, and he tried really hard. It just wasn't a fit. And I think wrestling, when you're a wrestling announcer, you basically have 2-3 jobs. Your job is to, one, get the talent in the ring over, whether they're a good guy or whether they're a bad guy or whether there's something in the middle. Your job is to get them over and sell them to the fans as much as possible. Your other job is to basically talk about what is unfolding in front of you. And the thing is, wrestling is weird. It's not like a lot of other sports. It's kind of how sports have done things since COVID, where you have announcers in booths and they're basically watching everything off of a monitor. They're not watching it unfold with their own eyes. They're watching whatever the camera's giving them. That's what wrestling is. That's how you call a wrestling match. You're looking down at probably a 12-inch monitor, and that is what you're calling. When somebody comes running in from behind or out of nowhere, legitimately, the announce crew doesn't know what the hell is going on until they see it on the camera because they're staring at this 12-inch screen that's in front of them. The only time that they might actually watch what's taking place in the ring is when somebody gets slammed through their announce table and all their stuff goes flying. And I think that's a hard transition for a guy who has called sports when he was younger. It's a hard transition for a guy who would basically produce his own bits on SportsCenter and ESPN. Like when you're doing your sports show, you go into the booth, you kind of cut up whatever you want to talk about. You basically type up what it is that you're going to be discussing and what you're going to be reading, and you basically put the screen graphs alongside whatever it is that you're going to be talking about. So it's kind of a cue, a visual cue for where you should be at when you're speaking. Calling a wrestling match, totally different. And it just never seemed like he was going to get it. All that being said, though, the day he gets released, it comes out that Cam Soda. And are you familiar with Cam Soda?
No, tell me what it is.
So Cam Soda is a porn site that basically it has girls on the other end doing cam shows. So you can like log in and you can pay some money and you can ask them to do certain things and they'll do whatever they want for you. Now, Cam Soda released a statement offering this man a job the day he got fired, like within hours. So he might already have a better gig lined up. I'm going to read this to you. Following the news that former ESPN and MLB Network host Adnan Virk and WWE parted ways after just 7 weeks, Cam Soda, a leading adult webcam platform, has come in with an offer from the now unemployed announcer. Along with hosting some of the best adult content on the internet, Cam Soda also promotes Fight Circus, a fight promotion based out of Thailand, and is presenting its 3rd volume on June 19th. The site has offered Virk $50,000 to do play-by-play for the show, which includes a 2-on-1 battle between UFC veteran and a set of inexperienced brothers, and will have the legendary Bob Sapp captaining a team of fighters. Basically, Cam Soda owns Fight Circus, which is pretty much. Do you remember like bum battles?
Yeah, I
do. You
do.
remember that or no on the internet, where you would like pay 2 bums $10 and you'd let them fight, and you would tape it? Do you remember this at all or no?
No, tell me about it.
So this was a thing like in the I think it was late 90s, early 2000s, and you would basically hire these bums. And you would give them like $10. You take them to a parking lot. This is where what was the big dude's name? The guy from Miami who ended up beating everybody up and ended up getting a job in the UFC. Anyways, you would pay them money, and they would go and they would fight in a parking lot. And whoever won, you'd basically go and buy them a thing of beer. And they need to get $10 to fight, and you would tape it, and then from there, I don't know, it grew and grew and grew. It became very popular until they're like, you can't do this anymore. You're exploiting bums, and it just wasn't great. So it was a thing when the internet was early, and it was funny. And that's pretty much what Fight Circus is, if you ask me. So Adnan Virk already setting up other jobs. Do you think you should look into this and take this up take up Cam Soda on their offer?
No, $50K is not enough to lose your dignity. I think that he's got enough jobs, and I think too. And I've gotten this too because I do a lot of different things, and sometimes you do overextend yourself. You can't do 9 jobs and do them all well. It's just impossible. You can't do media, baseball, then do wrestling, and especially with live action too. You got to remember Vince is in your ear, and there's like 59 words that you just can't say. And so it's just a situation that thankfully ended, man. And it actually, now I'm excited for Raw because I think that potentially in the news and notes, there's going to be at least maybe a minor shakeup with Monday Night Raw. What did you make of SmackDown in terms of, wow, I was highly impressed with 2 of the most charismatic tag teams squaring off. I didn't think it was going to be that good in regards to the Usos and the Street Profits. It was an interesting match, a lot of good spots, and some real talent displayed there on SmackDown. Made for a good show.
Yeah, for sure. And it was Kimbo Slice who was the guy who made it popular off of bum fights. I don't know if you remember Kimbo Slice or not.
Oh, yeah, I remember Kimbo Slice, man. He was a legend because of the fact that he got to the UFC, and he had an opportunity, too, because he was a street legend. And some of those videos got millions of views, man. He made a name of himself off the streets, and he was a bad man in his heyday.
Yeah, for sure. I thought this was a fantastic match. Street Profits are incredible, right? They're fun to watch. They're great in the ring, and you pair them with the Usos, who are basically mirror images of them. These are 2 athletic teams that can basically go bell to bell and wire to wire. I was surprised that they got put into this match so soon, right? So the Usos are just coming back as a tag team. This is their first tag team match. And they're going up against the Street Profits, who have basically been there. And I really feel like the Street Profits at this point, I don't want to say that they're an afterthought, but the Street Profits, after riding so high on Raw, go to SmackDown, and it just kind of feels like there's not a steady direction for them. And maybe this helps right that. Maybe this helps correct that for them. And maybe this is, in the end, the best call for both of these teams. And I think what you'll see is long term, I think you could do some really nice things booking wise with both the Street Profits and the Usos. I think short term, having the Usos get the win over the Street Profits might not have been the best. I think long term it might work out great, but I think what you could have done is you could have had the Usos showing some of that ring rust, showing some of that we're not necessarily on the same page, because that's kind of what we've gotten the last couple of weeks is they haven't really been on the same page. You could have really played that up a little bit more here, allowed the Street Profits to get a big win and kind of help get them back on track while the Usos are trying to figure it out. And then in the end, you could have these two pair off and square off at SummerSlam if you really wanted to do that. But look, anytime you put these guys in the ring, I think they're going to be fantastic. I think they're going to do a great job just because they are so overtly talented, both with the way that they sell moves, the way that they move in the ring, and the way that they can cut promos. I think they're absolutely great. Long term, do you think this is the best thing for the Usos and the Street Profits to be paired up together?
Absolutely. I think that you can also extend the feud with the Usos when they maybe break up. I think that you get the first salvo to get the Usos, and then the Street Profits win the overall feud in the 50-50 booking, and then it kicks off. If you do indeed decide to split up the Usos, you do it at a pay-per-view, and you can do it on a big stage, maybe even at SummerSlam, where one of the two just gets pissed, and then Roman Reigns comes out, and it's a wrap, and then you kick off one of the two, because I think one of the two could have a nice singles career, and you could have them hang out over there at SmackDown.
Yeah, I could see that happening, and that would be great. Let's move on to the Black and Yellow brand. Now, I thought what we got on NXT, the whole show, I thought was pretty much fantastic. I thought this was one of NXT's better Tuesday night shows. I thought it was great, and I thought it was capped off with a fantastic main event between Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. This was one of those matches where going into it, I was like, there's no way Finn Balor loses, or there's no way Finn Balor wins this. Like, Karrion Kross is winning this all day. But as this match started to unfold and you started to get some near falls, I was like, maybe Finn's got this. And anytime you can watch a match and it takes you from believing one thing to really starting to doubt what you believe in being a smart wrestling fan, it makes you doubt what you know is supposed to happen. That's a really good match. And that's what we had here, at least with me. And watching this match kind of unfold, and the way it ended left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth and left me asking a little bit of a question. And I'm going to pose that to you because I think, and I'm wondering if you think the same thing, is it time for Finn Balor to leave NXT? Is it time for him to go to, say, Monday Night Raw, which I don't feel is a great place for him, or perhaps SmackDown, which I feel would be the better place for him? Because we talk all the time about how Roman Reigns doesn't necessarily have anybody who can challenge or contend with him or is believable to take his place as a champion. I think Finn Balor walks into SmackDown. I think he leaves NXT, and I think it's time for it to go and be that guy who challenges Roman Reigns and is like a credible contender for that belt.
Yeah, of course he's credible, but the size difference, it's just, do you really believe that Finn Balor, maybe the Demon, but do you really believe Finn Balor is going to be the guy? You feel like the next guy that's going to take it has to be like a mega star, maybe along the lines of a Brock Lesnar, or you get maybe if you can build it up properly. I would be intrigued with a couple-month feud between Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns, and you have champion versus champion, and you have this massive build-up to be who the big dog is. And if
we'll get that at
continue,
SummerSlam, though.
Yeah, it could be that.
Or not SummerSlam. We'll get that at Survivor Series. I apologize. Survivor Series, we'll get that.
Yeah, typically we do get stuff like that. And, okay, so if it's not Bobby Lashley, I'm trying to think of a star that you have to kind of elevate.
Well, but that's kind of the point, though, right? Because I think WWE has done such a piss poor job of really getting anybody but Roman Reigns to this point. And now you've got him built up as this colossus. Who challenges him? Who comes in? Like, I feel like there is such a head start for Roman Reigns. He is so far ahead of the rest of the pack. How do you bring a guy up and elevate him to get him on that same level where you're like, yeah, this could legitimately happen? There doesn't seem to be anybody. I think Finn Balor is a guy who, you're right, he is small, but he has the physical look and he can cut great promos. On top of that, the guy has great moves. I mean, he just went wire to wire with Karrion Kross, who's a pretty big dude. I think Karrion Kross is a guy who could get elevated to SmackDown, and you would believe that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, like, Finn Balor just went bell to bell with him. You know? I mean, like, I get that if you do the whole thing where, like, well, he lost to Karrion Kross, so that means he's going to lose to Finn Balor. I get that. But I feel like Finn Balor is a guy who you could put in just about any spot and he's never going to get upstaged because he just rises to that moment. And look, I just don't think WWE has done a great job of really building anybody else up to where that you're like, yeah, this is believable. I was surprised that we got as far as we got with Cesaro in such a short amount of time. And I think you said it best. I don't know if you said it on this podcast or if you said it to me just when we were talking. You said it best. It's amazing what SmackDown does because they have Paul Heyman. And I think out of the two shows between Raw and SmackDown, I think SmackDown's show is light years better than what we're getting with Raw. And I think Paul Heyman has a lot to do with that. Whether it just be the Roman Reigns segments or it be the people who are incorporated into the Roman Reigns segments. The Roman Reigns, like the whole thing with Roman Reigns streams the entire Friday night show from basically the start to the very end. So Paul Heyman is involved in at least 4 or 5 segments on a 2-hour show. And basically, he is the launching pod, and he is the landing place for basically everything that happens in the middle. It'll start with Roman Reigns in whatever Paul Heyman is touching. It'll go to something, and then it'll come right back to it. So like as it's getting off track, Paul Heyman gets it right back on track. And I think that's why SmackDown's been so successful. And I think that was why you were able to help create a star, which felt like overnight with Cesaro. Like we all know Cesaro. I think the announcers did a great job getting him over. But you like going into that match at Backlash, we believe that Cesaro could possibly come out the champion. That doesn't happen. Like there's nobody on the SmackDown roster right now that you could look me in the eye and be like, yeah, that guy could be a champion. There's nobody. That's why I feel like Finn Balor could be that guy.
Well, I don't know. You're absolutely right. And your point that you said that made the most sense was WWE has not done a good job on SmackDown or Raw in terms of maintaining a ton of stars. Definitely at the top. Maybe you could have another run with Finn Balor, but it just kind of feels like at this point in time, he needs to change a company as opposed to change a show.
Ooh, look at you. That would be interesting. I'm not sure. I'll have to delve into when his contract expires, but that's something we could look at. That's something we could look at for a later time. Speaking of changing companies, well, what did you make of Impact this week? There's a company Finn Balor could go to and could basically rule the roost and then have some crossover action with the company that we basically all came to see because they're putting on a great pay-per-view this weekend. But what did you make of Impact this week?
Oh, it was such a good show, too. Man, what a good point you just brought up. Oh, my gosh. Finn Balor at Impact or Finn Balor at AEW. Oh my gosh. Real fast to double back. Do you think the Demon has to come back at some point in NXT?
I think the Demon needs to be saved for high caliber matches. Like the whole thing that was cool about the Demon, especially in NXT, was it was saved for those big money matches, right? Like it was money time when the Demon came out. And I think at some point the Demon has to come back. WWE definitely did not like paying somebody to basically do the paint and all the artwork for it. And that's why the Demon's gone away. But look, if he was to go to SmackDown and he was to go to Raw and you were to get in a championship match, the Demon has to come back. The Demon was one of the coolest things about Finn Balor. Like he had this crazy split personality. I'll be honest with you. I've turned my girlfriend into a huge wrestling fan. She bought an outside projector on Sunday. We're sitting in her backyard. We're watching AEW all Double or Nothing on the projector in the backyard. And her first time she's seen Finn Balor, she was like, "Okay, he's interesting. He's kind of small though." And I was like, "Yeah,
see,
but wait." So then you fast forward a few weeks. There was a pay-per-view where he was the Demon, and I was like, amazing, right? And she was like, just his entrance alone was great. She's like, he looks like a total badass. And I was like, and WWE doesn't want to do this anymore. She was like, why? I was like, money, always money. So look, you're not wrong in what you say, right? But he is small, but the Demon is so popular. And the Demon is such a different persona that it feels like it heightens everything. And yes, to answer your question, the longest answer ever, to answer your question, yes, the Demon has to come back at some point.
Yeah, we need to see the Demon, baby. Impact was really good in terms of the kickoff. Sammy Callahan comes out and he continues to get into the business of Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, who came out and said, look, you better stay away or there's going to be some big problems. I think that, in terms of the feud between, Callahan and the growing tension with Moose, you're starting to see that pick up a little bit, and it's good to have Sami Callihan right there in the mix, and I think he's benefiting greatly from this collaboration. You had Josh Alexander and Petey Williams taking on TJP and Falaba, and it was a really interesting kind of okay match. Nothing really spectacular went on. You had TJP and Ba defeating Alexander and Williams. You had a 10 knockout tag team match. And I thought it was really interesting, real good in regards to seeing some of the ladies there in terms of Grace, Ellering, Rosemary, Havoc, Dashwood taking on Steels, Hogan, Lee, Susan, and Deanna Purrazzo. It was nice to see, the way in which a new star can be used in terms of Morrissey, in terms of, Big Cass, formerly in the WWE, has come in and he's been rejuvenated. He's cutting great promos, intense, passionate, and he's doing some things that I think are going to be really interesting. And then to highlight the women as well, who we've talked about in the past, have been kind of in the background, kind of waiting for opportunities. And I think the 10 team knockout match I thought was pretty well. Violent by Design. Oh my goodness. What a crew. I'm definitely impressed. After securing the tag team belts, it's always good to see the homegrown guy, Rhino, get in the mix there. And it's really sweet. I love the name, Violent by Design. They cut a nice promo and they came down. And, one of the great lines, Impact Wrestling belongs to us. All wrestling from the East Coast to the West Coast, we all belong to us. And it's just some really good promo action going on there. And it's going to be interesting to see where this progresses moving forward. In terms of the main event action, oh my gosh, Moose, Sami Callihan versus the Good Brothers. And it was good for me to see the Good Brothers take down the match in terms of me being a big fan and mark for the Good Brothers. But I thought the match could have gone a little bit longer. There maybe were some restrictions. The story was told, but Moose is now challenging Kenny Omega for the Impact title. Many people
Let me stop you there real quick.
Yep.
And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Does he feel like he's the guy who could take that belt off of Kenny Omega? Because I don't think Kenny Omega should hold on to that belt for too long, because that's another company's belt. You're not really a part of that company.
Right, and I think it could be Moose based on the company's plans, but the real debate that I was going to mention that's being waged online is most people believe that it's Sami Callihan that deserves the nod. I think they love the violence, they love the character, because remember, they've seen him do amazing things. I think the fans are a little bit more behind that. So maybe we'll see how that plays out, but I think they planted the seeds that if it is Moose, the first guy that's going to get the shot is going to be Sami Callihan.
See, and that's what a good company does.
Yes.
Right there, you've got two guys basically that could contend for a champion's belt. So like if one of them gets hurt or something doesn't work out, you got the replacement and you've told a good enough story where either one of those guys could get the nod right now and you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Impact does really, really good things like that. WWE, not so much.
Absolutely, and that's why the show was a B-plus show. Good elevation of storylines and really interesting in regards to what's going down in the future. Good show. I was definitely impressed. What was your takeaway from AEW, which a lot of people came away impressed with on Friday?
Yeah, so look, you want to start with the good or do you want to start with the bad? Where do you want to go?
I want to hear your bad first. I want to hear your complaints.
Okay, so we'll start with the bad. And there's some big news breaking, and we're doing this early Saturday morning, okay? Because we stayed up and we're two losers who I don't think have progressed since the age of 9, because we love wrestling. We watched basically 4 hours of wrestling on Friday night to then turn around on a short hop to bring you this podcast to talk about all the wrestling that's going on this weekend. It was basically the pay-per-view before the pay-per-view, and this is what we're giving you. So the big news breaking Saturday morning. I guess this happened. I don't watch the Spanish broadcast because why would I? Big news coming out of AEW on Friday night's episode. Willie Avea, who's part of the Spanish announce team, apparently mocked Shida's Japanese accent as they were going to break. There was a bit of I don't know, I think maybe they thought they were going off air, and instead the Spanish announce team started mocking Shida and the way she spoke when she was being presented with her brand new belt. There's quite a bit of backlash. Like if you were to go to Twitter right now and you were to type in AEW or you were to type in Spanish announce team AEW, you could pretty much read through all of this. I'm not sure what the fallout's going to be. AEW has yet to comment on this. But I don't think it's going to be good. You can't do that, especially with Shida. To me, Shida has been one of the stalwarts of AEW. I think she's done a great job of carrying that women's division. And when I say carrying it, I mean putting it on her back. There are quite a few women in that division who are very, very good. But to me, Shida has been an exceptional champion. I've been so impressed with her. I can't speak highly enough about her matches, about the what it actually means when she's in the ring. Like she is one of the champions that where there'll be something going on, I will stop what I'm doing to watch her matches. There are times where we have to basically get where there was a time where we had to get basically 4 hours of wrestling in the quickest amount of time possible, trying to basically condense everything down to 2.5 hours so we could then turn around and do a show in a couple hours the next day. And I would find myself trying to fast forward through some parts of it. But when Shida's matches were on, I would stop. I would watch all of her matches. That's how good she is. That's how good she is in the ring. I look, you might not like her ability to cut a promo because she is foreign. Get over it. She's great in the ring and she's got a great look. She reminds me of an anime character. She reminds me of somebody that you would see like on Dragon Ball Z or something like that. And I think that's a great look and I think it works. I also think she carries herself very, very well. For somebody on AEW's announce team, whether it be the English side or the Spanish side, to mock her is just uncalled for. It is absolutely uncalled for. And Willie Vea should be ashamed of himself. How would you like somebody to mock a Mexican champion? Get over yourself. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, I thought Friday's show was very, very, very good. There were parts of it that felt a little bit clunky. And didn't really feel like it had the normal Dynamite flow to it. But all of that being said, that crowd was awesome to see. And I think they really contributed to a fantastic show that really helped drive a lot of segments. I thought probably the worst segment for me, and I'm going to have some news about this when we go to make our predictions. The worst segment for me was probably the weigh-in between Cody Rhodes and Anthony Agano. That to me it felt weird. When I said clunky earlier, that is exactly what I meant. It felt very, very clunky for me. But overall, I thought Double or Nothing was great. I thought the way it ended with Eric Bischoff and the Inner Circle in the ring, and you had guys like Santana. Santana cut a great promo, an absolutely fantastic promo. It felt like Santana's been dealing with some stuff at home, and that's why he was away last week. He was back this week, and it felt like Santana had whatever's been going on at home. It felt like Santana basically checked it at the door, and this was a revived Santana. This was a new guy. I thought his promo was great. I thought Jericho's always great. I thought Eric Bischoff setting the entire thing up with what happened with WCW 25 years ago to basically him and Jericho acknowledging their time in WCW together. And if you don't know, Jericho at a certain point didn't really like Eric Bischoff and felt like Eric Bischoff really held him back. That's why he went to WWE. I thought them two acknowledging a lot of things and kind of feeling like they've almost buried the hatchet. I thought it was absolutely great. All the way up to Chris Jericho seeing Dean Malenko being strapped to a goalpost. Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho have a huge history together. If you don't know about Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko's history, you got to go online, look for the man of 1,004 holds. It was a great bit that Jericho did. It was fantastic. It was highlighted in that Broken Skulls podcast with Steve Austin. It's great. So like those two, when they say that they're really good friends, they are really good friends. And MJF using Dean Malenko to get to Chris Jericho, again, great psychology. And then you have the Pinnacle just annihilate and wipe out everybody in the inner circle. I thought the way that this show basically ran from the start to the very, very end, I thought if you are a fan of AEW wrestling and you are tuning in because you want to see what's going to happen with Double or Nothing, I thought you got a great build for this Sunday's pay-per-view, and I thought you got a really, really good show. And if you didn't know how we got here, I feel like you kind of have a little bit of an insight as to how we got there. What did you enjoy most about this week's AEW?
Absolutely. I thought that the everything that you said was everything that was highlighted in my notes. I love seeing Eric Bischoff because just, you have that nostalgic feel, and you feel like because you and I are two individuals that have paid attention to wrestling, you feel like, oh, there's something I know. I know the history between Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho. You know what's been going on in regards to the underlying tension that potentially Chris Jericho has with Eric Bischoff because of the fact that you got to remember, Chris Jericho was one of the hungry stars that was potentially held down by Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff will tell you right now to your face that potentially letting Chris Jericho go and not elevating him, not elevating the young crew that included Eddie Guerrero, they became world champions, and they were no higher than mid to lower high-end talent in WCW, and it led to their collapse. So to kind of get that nostalgic feel was unbelievable, and I think that for AEW, I'm just always intrigued now with where certain storylines are going with the factions and everything like that. And then obviously just watching the matches, too, to make sure nobody ends up hurt, just to make sure the show goes off without a hitch. But in essence, the goal was to further the storyline for the pay-per-view. It got me excited, and now we're at the point where we're going to preview it. Let's do this, baby. I got to get got to get back in the game here as you took the lead. I'm curious to see what is going to take place on this card this weekend.
As you mentioned, I hold a slim 1-point lead, 4-3 in our pick segment. So it means out of the last I think it's 8 because I think we split, or maybe 9. We split a couple of points there. I somehow eked one by you here. But let's kick this thing off with the World Championship match. The AEW World Championship is being defended by Kenny Omega. He'll be taking on both Pac and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy on this past Friday's episode of AEW Dynamite seemed like he got a little bit of revenge, taking out both Kenny Omega and Pac. Who do you have winning this match? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, yeah.
It's going to be the world champ, baby. It's going to be an epic match. I think it's going to be an opportunity to get some other guys over in terms of the spots and everything, but world champ retains.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be Kenny Omega. I think he retains his belt. I think there's a longer play here, a bigger story with Kenny Omega. I'm just not sure what it is yet, but I like where we're going with it, and we'll see. All right, we've got the AEW Women's World Championship. Now, Shida was just presented with a new belt. She'll be taking on Britt Baker. Who do you think wins this?
Man, is it time for the Doc to get the win? I like Britt Baker. I like what she has, but man, it's a tough one because I really do believe that she's got the talent. She's got the total makeup of what you'd want in a champ. But I think that at this point in time, you got to continue to feature Shida and have everything go that way.
This is where I steal the win. I'm going Britt Baker, and I'm going to explain to you why. Shida has been a great champion. She's been champion for over a year. There's a reason they presented her with a new belt on Friday night. A lot of times what'll happen is when you've been a champion and you've done great things for a company, they will allow you to keep your belt. There's a new belt for a new reason. There will be a new champion crowned for the AEW's Women's World Champion, and that will be Britt Baker. She will take down Shida. She will become the new champion, and she will get to wear that new belt. The old belt that Shida wears around her waist is for Shida to keep, and it is a token, something good that Tony Khan is doing for her. He's basically giving her the belt, saying, "Hey, you helped carry us through this pandemic. We appreciate it. We are over a year into your title reign. It is now time to don a new champion, and I think that's going to be Britt Baker. So don't be surprised if that's the case." All right, Cody Rhodes, Anthony Agano. I'm going to let you know right off the bat, Anthony Agano's got a broken rib. He hurt himself while training. I don't think this is anything kayfabe. I think this is real life. I think he was working out, and I think he hurt himself. How he's going to do this match, I'm not 100% sure. I think this is what kind of led to that clunky standoff that we had in the ring. I think that was why when Paul White came out and was like, we're not going to have any of that funny stuff with this weigh-in. Anthony Ngannou is legitimately hurt. I don't know if they work a broken rib into the storyline to help get him over Cody Rhodes. Watching him in the ring and watching him try to hop out of the ring, it looks like he's struggling. I think Cody Rhodes wins this match.
If it happens, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be Cody Rhodes. I don't see it how you fake your way through it or anything like that. Maybe an attack, something that potentially puts the light on someone else. But, yeah, Cody Rhodes gets the love and gets the W.
All right, the Casino Battle Royale. We will have 20 combatants that will enter the ring. You will have one. This is usually where they introduce somebody new. I don't have any inklings onto who this new person is. Usually there is a little bit of oh, hey, this person might show up. Oh, hey, this person might show up, and we can kind of tease that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not even sure who's going to all be in the Casino Battle Royale. So I'm just going to kind of take a shot in the dark and just try to pick somebody. If you get this right, if by some chance you get this right, you get a bonus point. So this prediction segment will have the opportunity for up to 2 points. So you could win the whole damn thing and take the lead. I am going to select. I'm going to select somebody from what is it? Jurassic. The Jurassic tag team. I'm going to go with the big dinosaur guy.
Okay.
I forgot his name off the top of my head. I just had my dogs freak out, so like my brain is like sidetracked. I'll get you his name here in a second. Who do you have? Jurassic Express. That's the name of the tag team.
Jurassic Express, huh? Yeah, exactly. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, there's so many good wrestlers. Who's going to end up being in this thing? I'm just going to go and take a wild stab that, we haven't seen Rich Swann show up and do anything. You got to have somebody from Impact show up and do something. So I'm going to just go somebody new, Rich Swann.
Ooh, Rich Swann. Now, that would be interesting. That would be awesome. And you know what? I like that. Rich Swann gets introduced. Now, remember, he's part of Impact. He gets introduced, shows up for the Battle Royale, gets a title shot at Kenny Omega, and that's how he could get his belt back. I like that. Hey, that is some good thinking. I like where your head's at. By the way, I picked Luchasaurus, that big meaty man with the green mask. Dude, I'm telling you, like sometimes I just get like tunnel vision when we're doing these things, and like the moment I get sidetracked, it's hard for me to get back. It takes me a few minutes to get back on track, and with the dogs freaking out because the mailman just delivered something, it was not great. But I like your pick of Rich Swann. That's a solid pick. I like where your head's at with that. All right, Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Hangman Page playing all the mind games and basically challenging Brian Cage to leave Taz and the crew in the back and just come out here and just take me on by yourself. Be a man. Don't be a bitch. Also intimated that there might be some steroid use with his balls shriveling up. I like that when we got that on Friday. Who do you have win this? You have the Hangman or do you have Brian Cage?
Man, it's tough, too, because they both kind of need the win. I'm going with Hangman because I just see his push continuing to elevate. And I know Brian Cage is this big monster, but I'm not seeing it yet where he can get the win in a big feud.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hangman as well. I just feel like it's set up for Hangman to get the win here. You've got Miro versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. When I tell you that Miro looks like the biggest, meanest, thickest dude you've ever seen in your entire life, I am being 100% honest. Friday night when he showed up in the ring and he flexed a little bit and he had like 97 shoulder veins, I was like, holy shit. WWE totally missed on this guy. Like, I don't like his barbaric, I'm going to smash everything thing that he's got going on, but this is a big, intimidating dude, and he's got a bit of nasty in him. Another guy who's got a lot of nasty is Lance Archer. Miro just won the TNT Championship. I think he's going to retain, but I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out, bludgeoning match.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this one among the many matches on this card. But, yeah, Miro takes it down.
All right, we've got the Pinnacle taking on the Inner Circle in the Stadium Stampede match. Now, they're going to do this match. Chris Jericho's going to wrestle. Rumor is he's got a fractured elbow, so there will be some ways to protect him. This will be pre-filmed, and then it'll be piped into the arena. So they're probably working on it today. Who do you have winning this one? Now, remember, if the Pinnacle wins, the Inner Circle is disbanded.
I still got to go with the Pinnacle. I mean, how do you have it where, the Inner Circle stays together? I think that it's time to kind of maybe have a spot where Chris Jericho can get some time off, and then you can shine the light on the rest of the guys individually. So give me the Pinnacle.
Weird. I think the Inner Circle is special, and I think the whole build-up to this, I could see this going both ways, because the whole build-up to it has kind of softened the blow that if they are to get separated, you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, makes sense. But I'm going to go Inner Circle. I think by hook or by crook, Chris Jericho and the squad ends up taking this one down. Now we've got Sting and Darby Allin taking on Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Who do you think wins this one? This is interesting because you've got two young, talented guys in Ethan Page, and Scorpio Sky hasn't, I don't feel like, been given a really good shake here in AEW versus a fan favorite in Sting and a fan favorite in Darby Allin. Who do you have winning this one?
Sting, baby. You don't get a loss on this guy's record for a minute because he's an attraction. So Sting and Darby Allin, baby.
I'll go Sting and Darby Allin as well. I feel like right now it's hard to put a loss on Sting. And I think you can work it into something with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. I think you can write a loss in there, no problem. All right. The Young Bucks taking on Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for the Tag Team Championship. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston have been some of the most entertaining guys on AEW. I would love to see them win the Tag Team Championships. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to say Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston get the titles. If I was you, I would take the Young Bucks here. But man, I want to see them win, so I'm going to pick them.
So who's your pick now?
Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Okay, I'm going with the Young Bucks. I agree. I think that, it'd be nice to see, that story evolve, but I still think the Young Bucks deserve to keep the title.
Sounds like the plan. All right, in the kickoff show, we've got the NWA Women's Championship, Serena Deep versus Rio. I think Serena Deep coming back from injury. She's had, I think, 2 matches since she's messed up her leg. I'm going to go with Serena Deep in this one.
Yep, me too as well. I like this matchup. It'll be good for a kickoff show to feature this. Get everybody hyped and ready to go.
Yeah, it should be a good match. Should be look, both of them are awesome competitors. Pay-per-views, I think, kicks off at 8 o'clock on Sunday. It should be a great show.
Okay, now, before we get to news and notes, I just want to ask you this. What's the percentage if Moxley and Kingston lose the match, they reignite their feud again and have it where this bromance kind of ends and gets violent? That's the way I write it.
I would say 15%.
Okay. All right, very good, man. It's going to be a great pay-per-view. I can't wait to recap it with you next week. I got to get back in it. It's 50-50 on this one. It's going to come down to a couple matches. So let's see, man. It's going to be a good pay-per-view for AEW. All right, cuz, hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So Edge is scheduled to make his return. Currently, Edge is being advertised for the July 16th episode of SmackDown at the Toyota Center in Houston. That show will mark the first stop on WWE's 25-city tour, running from July 16th through September 6th. It will also be the first WWE show live with a crowd since early last year, aside from WrestleMania 37. Now, Finn Balor, we spoke about him a little bit earlier. He has enjoyed a great deal of success since returning to NXT in October of 2019. But does he plan to remain with the black and yellow brand forever? During an appearance on Out of Character with Ryan Satin of Fox Sports, Balor said that at some point he hopes to return to SmackDown or Raw one day. He said, absolutely, the idea of returning to the main roster interests me, obviously. I grew up as a wrestling fan watching WWE, and I feel like that is where I want to be performing. I feel like in my last run there, I wasn't doing myself justice. I needed to change something, and I went to NXT, and I found out who I was again. And I managed to do that to some level, and I'm hopeful at some level that Raw or SmackDown will happen in the future. An update on those released by WWE, Tom Phillips was released on Friday. I thought he was going to be the guy who was going to slide in and take over for Adnan Virk. Not the case. Jimmy Smith will be sliding in and taking over for Adnan Virk. I'm wondering if that's the Jimmy Smith who was the famous 80s actor. I'm not 100% sure. Haven't been able to confirm that. So we'll have to see on Monday. Now, rumors on Ava Marie's return. sounds like WWE is going to do her some justice and maybe save all of us a little bit. Sounds like Ava Marie is going to be used as a manager. And I want to ask you, Doc, is that the best move for her?
Yes, give her a faction. Yes, get some mid-card people and let her be one of the premier managers. Absolutely. If you put her in the ring, it's going to be an epic failure. You just highlight her talking and her vignettes and put together a solid crew, maybe even with Finn Balor. What the hell? Finn Balor, let's see. Finn Balor joins maybe almost an AJ Styles. Led by the Evolution. You never know. I would take a new name. You never know.
Interesting. Hey, look, I think Ava Marie's got a fantastic look. I think she's horrible in the ring, though, and she cuts a pretty good vignette promo. So you just try to limit the things that she does poorly and put her in positions to succeed. She'll be okay.
Evolution's coming, baby. Let's see.
All right, more WWE rumors. WWE is reportedly in talks with New Japan Pro Wrestling in hopes of striking up a working relationship between the two promotions. On Friday night before we had AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan took to Twitter and cut a scathing promo on WWE for this and talked about how they really haven't been able to get anything done if they've been working on this for 2 years, and Tony Khan's been able to have a ton of New Japan people in AEW already, and he brought up the Forbidden Door. So very, very interesting. I loved when Tony Khan kind of goes off. He's a weird kind of squirrely guy, but he is interesting, that's for damn sure. Now, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE is negotiating with an eye towards becoming New Japan Pro Wrestling's official American partner, and a deal that would include talent exchanges. Meltzer noted that New Japan officials have been speaking with WWE President and Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan. That's who AEW's Tony Khan went off on, who has become a major player within WWE since he was hired away from creative artist agencies last year. Now, all of this stems from inquiries about Daniel Bryan, who is currently a free agent. Daniel Bryan is no longer signed with WWE. Daniel Bryan was supposed to be looking at possibly working with New Japan on some dates in the future. So WWE wanted to try to work out something here where they could bring Daniel Bryan back. He could be with New Japan. They could do some talent exchanges. If you ask me, Daniel Bryan should probably look at working with Impact and working with AEW and see what you could do with New Japan there, because I think that'd be a much, much better storyline and much, much better a work rate for Daniel Bryan. And finally, some news on SummerSlam. Sounds like Cardi B is rumored to be the host of SummerSlam. If you remember back during the Hall of Fame inductions, she was name dropped a little bit. There were also a couple Twitter exchanges with her and wrestling involved. And, you know, Vince likes to be hip, and Cardi B, I guess, is still hip. So Cardi B, possibly your host of SummerSlam. And that's going to do it for this week's Wrestling News and Notes, my brother.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. And I'll add my own little slice of news. WWE returning to Little Caesars Arena August 1st.
I was saving it for you.
Yeah, baby. It's going to be a show that I think a lot of people are going to be excited for. And gotta let you in, cuz not the oldest, but my second youngest nephew is in love with wrestling. He stayed over last weekend, and little man and I watched Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio from the past on YouTube, and we watched John Cena and The Rock from WrestleMania, I believe 26, the first go round, or 27. And little man is just watching wrestling, so it's going to be in line for me and the little man to have to get out there and let him scream his little head off. Now, the problem is, dude's a little strong. He wants to, watch it, and then 11:45 at night, trying to do some Huracan Rana on his uncle. I'm like, whoa, bro, I'm old, but this kid's swinging, and I'm like, you can't do this to other people. He's like, I won't. And then, boom, nut shot to me, and I'm on the ground, and I'm like, oh my God, what has happened? He loves the belts that are hanging up on this office, so it's fun, man. To relive it through the eyes of a kid is even better, because
how great would it be to see you at Little Caesars Arena with the two girls, because they're both into wrestling.
Yes, everyone. I got the whole crew.
Your youngest nephew, like you and 3 kids. That'd be crazy.
It's fun times, man.
It's like children just walking around because you're like the biggest kid.
Exactly, man. I'd be like, oh shoot, I gotta get if I hop the rail, someone's got to get him back. Oh man, follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and subscribe by hitting and searching for Detroit Sports Podcast. 3 great words. Hit that subscribe button, and our daily content will find you, especially the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for the time, cuz. I look forward to talking to you and recapping everything that we just talked about this week.